Welcome back, KTM fans. Today is an exciting day for me because I'm putting my ECU in, one from AIM, and I'm putting my Graves exhaust on. But here's what the stock exhaust sounds like. Stock ECU, stock exhaust. So I've already gone ahead and taken this spring out that holds these two, the muffler to the header. I've undone these two bolts. I made sure the pipe is not hot. Simply just give it a wiggle and it'll pull right out. And here's the two mufflers together. The size is pretty close to the same. The Graves is obviously lighter. I don't have a scale, so I'm gonna say it's lighter. You can notice the difference. That size is gonna be the same, but this is where the difference is. Look at the size of that hole. Look at the size of that hole, and that's with the baffle. You take that baffle out and it's a 2-inch hole compared to a very, very restricted, whatever that is. Next step, put the Graves on. You can see it's already got nice rubber mounted. Take these things out, stick those in there, and the Graves also comes with a nice rubber covered spring so you don't scratch up your nice exhaust. One thing I've always wanted to try, see what it sounds like straight pipe. Should I? No, I'm not going to do that because that is very hard on the valves, even for a short period of time. It's not worth ruining the engine. Sorry guys, maybe next time. So I've gone ahead and put the Graves on. Oh, she looks sexy. They even give you a nice little spring with their logo on it. With the rubber around it so it won't scratch your header. A little bit tricky putting these bolts back in. I don't know if it was just me lining it up, but those bolts went in tight. Even getting those aluminum spacers on both sides is a little bit of a chore, but at least it's something I only have to do once. I'm so tempted to start it up now with the stock exhaust or the stock ECU, but I think I'll wait. Next step is put the ECU in and the handlebar map switch, and to do that I'm pretty sure I got to pull my tank. Here's the ECU here. So we'll see what happens. One thing I learned long ago is when you're playing with electronics, unhook your battery. Just in case, for whatever reason, it doesn't hurt anything, but if there is a power surge when you plug that in, you could hurt the ECU. Just my little 2 cents. Here's the stock ECU. Here's the fancy Taipan AIM. It's all the other wires. I get to read the instructions in the manual, figure out where they go. So this is going to slip back into here and then back on the bike, and then I'll read the instructions and see where everything goes. I'll put the ECU in. Pretty basic, nothing fancy about it. Pretty pink. I'm masculine enough to deal with that. And then I got to put this on, map switch. All these wires. Now these wires, one of them is going to plug into here, one of these 3 wires. Not sure about the other 2 yet, but I will find out. But I got to pull the tank because I got to run the wires underneath the tank, inside the frame, and mount this up here somewhere. Just like that. Ain't that gonna look pretty? Actually, I think I'll mount it that way so I can read what's going on. Yeah. One more thing I want to point out is when you take your tank off, obviously you have to unplug this. Now there's a little wee tiny fuel filter right here, and they're like 11 bucks a piece Canadian, and they want them changed every 15 hours, which I guess so because this is the last filter before your intake manifold. Now what I've gone and done, and I'll try and leave a description and a part number, is from KTM you can buy this little fuel sock. little fuel condom, and it sits right inside the fuel tank, but yay long, and it filters all the gas going into your tank. And it actually sits in those, sorry about that, sits in the grooves right there, so it doesn't get affected by the fuel cap. The only thing you have to watch is you can't just stick the fuel nozzle in there, because you're going to rip this. This is a very, very fine filter. Something to keep in mind. I know it's going to save spending 11 bucks every 15 hours in one of those filters. Anyway, that's all. If you've never had your tank off your bike, there's 2 screws here, 2 screws here. I've already taken them out. And then 1 screw through the center, right in there, hold your tank on. A couple little clips to hold that plastic on, that plastic on. Then you have this quick release you have to undo. A good thing to do is keep an eye on that O-ring right there, because it can tear. And every time you plug this back into here, make sure it clips really well, and put a little bit of grease on there. Gives it some lubrication for when you put it in. And don't forget, don't just start yanking after that, because you have to undo your fuel pump. Right here, this little wire. I'll see if I can do this with one hand, and take the gas cap off. Should just a little bit of wiggle. I got a full tank of gas, so she's a little bit on the heavy side. There, sorry about that. There, tank's off. See, tank. You don't got to take these off, nothing, they just come off with it. I would put a cap over top of that so you don't get any more junk or dust or bugs inside your gas tank. Next step is put the map switch here and tie wrap it, because the wire's got to go all down the frame and plug into one of these 3 wires. That'll be the next step. Map switch is on. There's 2 little tiny screws back there that are hard to get on for the clamp, but I got everything on fine. That's as good as it's going to get. Mounted the wire. These wires, I can only imagine, are going to be very small and brittle, so try and keep your joints straight as possible, especially coming out of here, and big round loops. What I've done is I've tie wrapped it to my clutch and clutch cable and instrument cables, fed down through the frame following my clutch cable and this nice wire holder. Don't put things too tight, leave a little bit of room for things to move and bounce around. Follow the side of the frame so everything fits under the tank. Nothing is going to get crushed when I mount the tank back on. Falls under here, right to here, inside the frame, here, and you get an extra 2 feet of wire. So what I've done is I've just stuffed it in the hole that goes right in the air box. The other 2 connectors, these ones here, they come out of the ECU. I'm only guessing that those are for when you buy these from AIM, they're not programmed to any specific bike. So seeing how I bought this from Takamoto, they did the programming. So I'm guessing that's what those 2 other connectors are for. One here, one here. They're for when you hook up to a computer and do your own programming. That's way beyond me. Anyway, see, battery's still unplugged, just in case. Now I can put the tank back on. I read the instructions, and basically it says install ECU, plug in cables, make sure nothing touches. They do give you a little bit of instruction on what the maps are and stuff like that, but worry about that later. I want to hear this thing run now, so I'm going to put the tank on and get everything all buttoned up, see what it sounds like. Got the map switch mounted. Seeing how there's not a lot of real estate between the mirror, the map switch, the clutch perch, the instrument cluster, we'll call it, for signal lights and horn and headlights and that. And I can't really move the clutch in anymore because it's going to hit. If KTM was smart, they would have put a dent in there, and I could have moved this whole clutch perch out an extra finger width. Anyway, that's where the map switch is going to go. Now the next step is feed all the wires down here to the ECU. Okay, I've got it all buttoned up. All the wires and everything are all in a good spot. Everything's all fancy, pretty like. Doesn't look like anything new. We're going to fire it up now. And from what I've been told is start the bike up. You can see I still have the spark arrestor in there. I'm going to leave that in there for now. Anyway, when you put in a brand new ECU, what you're supposed to do is start the bike up, don't touch the throttle. Let it sit. What the ECU is actually doing its programming and thinking and everything. You just let it sit. You're supposed to let it sit and idle for a few minutes before you touch it. So I hope you enjoyed my ECU install. Ooh, let's see if we got some lights on my dash. Oh, pretty blue. I'm on map 1 right now. I'll do another video after that explains all the map settings and if I can actually feel any difference in the way the bike performs. So you keep an eye out for that video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed another episode of KTM's Garage or Backyard. See you in the next video.